Hi everyone, this is Mrs. V Chan. Welcome to my Form 6 Costs Accounting lesson number 2. Today is 19th July 2020. Alright, so we will look at some of the costs concepts or terminology, which is the special words or expression that we used in costs accounting. So the first thing is about costs associated with the changes in activity, and also we have another term. We call that costs behavior. And then I'm going to use some examples to show you the meaning of costs behavior in today's lesson. Okay, so here we have example 1 about costs behavior. So the first one, we have this diagram, the vertical axis showing total costs, and the horizontal is about activity level, and which is same as the number of goods produced. And here we have a horizontal line. Okay, that means even though we produce no products here, we still need to spend some costs in the factory. So this is the fixed costs, right? Okay, so what is meaning of fixed cost? Fixed cost means they are costs which remain unchanged. So that's why we have a horizontal line here. Okay, even though we produce nothing, we need to spend something. Even though we increase more products, we spend the same amounts of costs. All right, so remain unchanged irrespective of changes in production level. All right, okay, so now let me give you some example. For example, we have office rents, because the rent we pay is always the same. Okay, it doesn't matter how many units we have product produced in the factory. And what else? And then let's say we have management fees. Okay, or the salary we pay to people working in the office, clerical salaries. Okay, so this is the first cost behavior, which is fixed costs. Okay, so next we have another diagram. Okay, now the line here starts at origin, starts at 0. That means if we produce nothing, we don't need to spend any costs. And then if we produce more, we have more total costs. So therefore, this line representing the variable costs. Okay, and here is the meaning of variable costs. All right, they vary means they change in total in. Okay, so you can see the slope is upward sloping, so we call that, which is in direct proportion to the level of activity achieved. Okay, and we have this example. For example, we have raw materials consumed. That means the more unit were produced, we need to use more raw materials. So this is an example for variable costs. Okay, so next we have another diagram here showing mixed costs. And there is another name for mixed costs, which is same as semi-variable costs. So there are two parts for mixed costs. For this part, which is fixed horizontal to the x-axis, and then after you produce more or beyond this unit, you have to spend more proportionally on total costs. So this part is about variable costs. So here we have the meaning of mixed costs. They are costs which are parts fixed and parts variable. Okay, and we have this example. The first example for mixed costs, like electricity, includes a fixed standing charge plus a variable costs charged on the units of electricity consumed. Okay, and after that, we have another mixed cost example, like the salary we pay to salesmen very often consists of the basic salary and then the commission we pay to the salesman. And what do you think about basic salary? Very often, which is fixed, right? Okay, and then for the commission, this is variable, because if they work harder, if the salesmen work harder, if they can sell more goods for the company, they earn more commission. Okay, now we come to example 2, and I'm going to show you this question, a level question in 207 about costs behavior. All right, so now you are given some of the terms here, like direct material, direct labor, right? And here we have factory overhead. So, okay, remember that if we have to produce our own products, that means we need to calculate production costs. And for the production cost, we have prime costs. So prime cost is same as direct costs. Okay, as you can refer to the previous lesson. All right, so factory overheads means indirect costs. Indirect costs, right? And the very common example for prime cost will be direct material. Okay, and then we can study the behavior for direct material. What do you think about direct material? Direct material should be a kind of variable costs. That means the more product we produce, the more direct material we need to consume. And also we have direct labor, which is also a kind of variable costs, right? However, in this question, we are given factory overheads. In the factory, there are 3 types of factory overhead: type 1, type 2, type 3. And then we are not sure what are the costs behavior in this question, and later on we need to find, and then we need to calculate in part A and part B here. All right, so next, let's study the information given to us. So here in the production process, only the following 3 types of factory overheads are incurred, each of which demonstrating a different costs behavior. All right, so meaning of cost behavior, it means the costs associated with changes in level of activity. Okay, and also the maximum product capacity was 30,000 number of units. That means, okay, in the factory can only produce at most this 30,000 number of units. So because resources always limited, and now we are given this information. If the factory produce 15,000 units, okay, and type 1 is 180,000. Okay, if we increase the unit up to 18,000, you can see type 1, the cost is same. And then even though at maximum capacity, so type 1 is also same, 180,000 for this 27,000 unit produced. Okay, so let us identify costs behavior first in part B here. So part B, we need to identify and describe the cost behavior for each type of 3 types of factory overheads before we do calculation in part A. So we can say that what is type 1 must be fixed costs, and which does not change regardless of the level of production. Okay, now next, how about part 2? Okay, so part 2, now let us study the behavior. So this is a unit at 15,240 and increasing to 18,000, also 240. So it seems that this is same, right? This is fixed. But however, if increasing more to another level, okay, so this is 30,000, this is 30,000. So we can say that for type 2, all right, we call that it is a stepped costs. And stepped costs is same as semi-fixed costs. All right. Okay, which does not change within a range of activity. Okay, so therefore, let me give you the diagram for stepped costs. Okay, so this is total costs, and then a step, like this is a stepped costs, okay, and this is number of unit produced or unit of activity. So what is the term I used before? Okay, let me check. So the term I used before is activity level. Okay, so we don't have this in my example previously, but anyway, from here question we learn another costs, which is stepped costs, and then we call that semi-fixed costs, and this is a diagram for stepped costs. Okay, so after we have identified the cost behavior for type 1, since it is fixed, so therefore the answer to part 1 here should be same as 180,000. So here is the answer for part 1, type 1, 180,000. And then for type 2, point 2 here, it is a kind of stepped cost. So this is 300,000, 300,000. So for point 2 here, also 300,000. Okay, now we come to type 3. All right, so look at this. Okay, when we increase the number of unit produced, you can see this is getting more, getting more, getting more. However, is this variable cost or not variable cost? We need to check. So we need to check and get a calculator. Okay, so next we come to type 3. So if we check here, so this is 15 unit produced, we have 355,000. If you increasing the unit produced, you can see the figures here, the total cost is increasing as well. So that it may be a kind of variable costs, okay, because the more we produce, the more cost we have, but we are not sure, we have to check. Now, how do we check whether it is variable or not variable? So we need to calculate the cost per unit. So this is 355,000. So 355,000 divided by, we produce 15,000 number of units. So you can see we have this per unit costs. So let me write per unit costs for producing 1 unit. Here is 23.6, right? Okay, next. If we produce 18,000 number unit, we need to spend 400,000. So 400,000 divided by 18,000. So how much per unit? So here we have 22.2, and then repeat that. So 445 divided by 21,000. So which is 21.2. Okay, so obviously you can see the variable cost is not the same. So the conclusion is that for variable, for type 3, it cannot be, must not be a kind of variable costs. If it is variable cost, it must be directly proportional, since the variable unit cost, the per unit cost is not the same. So type 3 is not variable costs. Okay, so therefore we can say, okay, type 3 must be mixed costs. So how do we work out mixed costs? We need to set 2 simultaneous equations. And let me take these 2 columns as example, for example. Okay, all right, so fixed costs, okay, plus, this is the unit produced, that's 15,000. And then variable cost per unit, we don't know. And then the total costs will be 355,000. So since I have 2 unknowns here, one is fixed cost, one is variable cost per unit, so that this is equation 1. And then next I need to set another equations to find 2 unknowns here. So this is fixed cost, I don't know, plus, okay, how many unit produced? So 18,000 variable costs, and then I get total costs. So this is how we set 2 simultaneous equation to find mixed costs. Okay, now we do some calculation. All right, so we have this fixed cost same, so that I can do elimination by equation 2 minus equation 1. here equation 2 minus equation 1, so that I have 18,000 minus 15,000, therefore I have 3,000 variable costs, and then 400,000 minus 355,000, I get 45,000, therefore, so how much is variable cost per unit? 45 divided by 300, so this is 15 per unit, so that this is variable costs per unit. Therefore, I can go back to do substitution. Okay, put this into 1, fixed costs we don't know, plus 15,000, and then 15,000 times variable cost per unit. Okay, so I just solved simultaneous equation. Alright, so therefore, how much is fixed costs? So that would be 355,000, okay, minus the total for this. Alright, so I need this scientific calculator to work out the solution, which is 355,000 minus 15,000 times 15. Okay, so that we get fixed costs, which is 130,000. Alright, so mixed cost means we have part fixed cost and part variable. So how do we do that? We set two simultaneous equations to work out fixed cost and variable cost per unit. Okay, therefore, we have enough information to go back to type 3 and point 3 here when, okay, we have 24,000 units produced. So this is the answer to part 3 when 24,000 number of units produced. So how much will be total cost to type 3? So total costs consists of fixed costs plus variable costs, is that right? And then fixed cost, just now we get 130,000 plus, okay, 15,000 is for 1 unit, and now here is 24,000 number of units, so okay, the dollar sign here. Alright, so the answer to type 3 will be another 0 plus 15 times 24. Okay, so this is how we work out mixed costs for type 3 here. So type 3.3, part 3. Okay, when the unit produced is 24,000, we set two simultaneous equation. Okay, so therefore the answer to part B, to identify cost behavior to type 3, the answer is semi-variable costs. Another name is same as mixed costs. And the meaning for mixed cost or semi-variable means that it consists of fixed costs and variable costs, and which is in direct proportion with the level of production, and the unit costs for variable is $15 from the simultaneous equation here. Okay, so next we have a similar example, similar question in DSE 2017. Alright, so here is the question, and the information given to us here: manufacturing overhead same as factory overhead. So we have type P, Q, type P, type Q, type R. And here, type R includes fixed manufacturing overheads and variable manufacturing overheads. So obviously, what do you think about R? The cost behavior for R should be part fixed and part variable. So the answer to C here, type R, what is the answer? C must be mixed costs or semi-variable costs. Okay, so the answer to part C here. Okay, and then for B, we need to calculate 1, 2, 3, and then 1 is type P. So what is the answer for 1? So since 1 is type P, so the cost for type P, let's study, same, 400,000, same. So it is fixed. So the unit produced for 540,000 should be same. So the answer is 400,000 is the answer to type P. Okay, next let's look at type Q. So you can see this is increasing. with the unit produced when the unit produced is increasing. So we are not sure whether it is variable costs or mixed, so we can check. So let's check costs per unit. So the cost 180,000 divided by, this is unit produced. So how much is unit cost? So 0.5, you can see. Okay, check this one as well. Total cost here 210,000, yes, divided by 420. Okay, also 0.5, right? Okay, let's check the last column here. So total amounts, the total cost is 300,000 divided by unit produced 600,000. Okay, I also get 0.5. So obviously, what is type Q? Type Q now in this question is variable costs. Okay, and then therefore, how do we get this 0.2 for this 400 unit produced? So that will be total costs will be, we need to work out variable cost per unit. So I just take any of the column. Let's see, I take this column, so which is 180,000 total costs for producing how many units? So this is 360 units. So I get variable cost per unit. And now Q is here, 0.2 is here, 0.2 is 400, 0.2 is 480. So this is how I work out variable cost. So this is variable cost per unit. Okay, let's check. So 180,000 divided by 360,000. Yes, I get 0.5, and then now unit produced is 480,000. Okay, so this is the answer for type Q. So 240,000. Okay, and then also Q is a kind of variable costs. So whenever we get the same variable cost per unit, so here 0.5 per unit. Okay, so finally we come to type R, and then we are given that type R is a kind of mixed cost, and this is the unknown 0.3 we have to find. But before we find that, we need to set two simultaneous equations. So this time, okay, actually you can pick any of the two columns. Let's say I choose this column and this column, okay, for setting equation, two simultaneous equations. Okay, so what is meaning of mixed cost? Mixed cost means part fixed and part variable. So this is the unit produced and variable cost per unit, and then I get 101,000. Okay, equation 1. Okay, so actually you can just pick any two columns. All right, so I choose this column. So fixed costs plus, so this is unit produced, 540 unit produced, and variable cost per unit we don't know, and then the total cost is 113,000. Okay, again I get two simultaneous equation to solve these two unknowns. One is fixed cost, one is variable costs. So I do this, equation 2 minus equation 1. This is 1. Equation 2 minus 1. So fixed cost eliminate the fixed costs. Okay, I get my calculator. When we have equation 2 minus equation 1, so 540,000 minus 480,000. So I have this 60,000 variable cost equals to 113,000 minus 101,000. Therefore, I have this 12,000. Okay, solving equation. So 12,000 divided by 60,000. Okay, so what is this? 0.2 per unit for the variable costs. Okay, and then I substitute this variable cost back to equation 1. So fixed cost plus 480,000. Now cost per unit is 0.2 equals to 101,000. Okay, solving simultaneous equation, and then I get this 101,000 minus 480,000, yes, times 0.2. So total fixed cost will be 5,000. Okay, now I have enough information to go back to 0.3 here. So for 0.3, this is when how many unit produced, when we have 420,000 units produced it, right? And how much is the total cost? Total costs consists of fixed cost plus variable cost, same as before. And then now I get fixed cost here, which is 5,000 plus variable cost per unit is 0.2. And now here we produce 420 number of units, so I can get my answer here. 5,000 plus 0.2 times this. Okay, so the answer to type R is 89,000. Okay, now we come to the final parts in this question. So, which is KM company is considering a one-off special order from customer. It has sufficient production capacity to cope with this order. Alright, so the question is here, with reference to cost behavior, when KM company decides whether to accept the order, which of the above three types of manufacturing overheads is irrelevant? That means which type does not affecting the decision whether we should accept the order or not. Now the first, let's look at the cost behavior again. So type P is fixed, type Q is variable, and then type R is mixed. Okay, so which one is irrelevant? The fixed cost should be always irrelevant, because it doesn't matter we accept the order or reject the order, anyway we have to spend this amounts of costs. So therefore the answer to part D will be type P. Okay, so type P is irrelevant, as type P is a kind of fixed costs. So whenever given the situation saying that the company has sufficient production capacity, and type P would not change no matter whether the special order is accepted or not. So the fixed costs will be irrelevant when we make this kind of decision whether we should accept the order from customer or not. Okay, so that's all about cost behavior in today's lesson. So thank you for watching my video. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.